Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Once again, we are going to talk about Pakistan's political situation. We are going to divide today's discussion into the NAB Second Amendment Ordinance that we discussed yesterday as well. But today, once again, we are going to do it. And the second segment, which is quite intriguing, is what is going on in Balochistan. On one side, of course, there was this sad development where we saw an earthquake, but I am talking about a political earthquake that is going on. There seems to be some strife within the ruling party, Balochistan Awami Party. 3 ministers resigned yesterday. In the second segment, we are going to talk about that as well. And there are many things which are intriguing about the NAB Ordinance. For example, opposition we know usually keeps on cancelling it out, but we kept on talking to experts during the program yesterday and after the program as well, even today, and most of them are agreeing to the changes that were needed and they have been incorporated. But there is one aspect which is interesting. We saw the Bar Association's reaction. The Bar Association people actually say that all these appointments of judges should not be in the hands of government because it can create a negative dynamic. We are going to talk about all these matters, but before we do that, let me read to you certain parts of the ordinance itself. The President will appoint the NAB chairman in consultation with the Prime Minister and the opposition leader. In case of failure to reach consensus on the appointment, the matter will be sent to a 12-member parliamentary committee formed especially for the matter of the appointment. Under the new ordinance, the President has the authority to establish as many accountability courts in the country as he deems fit. Then there's this second very important point. The provisions of the ordinance shall not be applicable to any person or entity who or transaction in relation thereto which are not directly or indirectly connected with the holder of a public office. Procedural lapses in any public or governmental work, project or scheme unless it is shown that a holder of public office or any other person has been conferred or has received any monetary or other material benefits from that particular public or governmental work, whether directly, indirectly, on account of such procedural lapses. I'm going to leave it at this because I have to congratulate whosoever came with this text for writing one of the longest sentences I have read in the history of lawmaking. But we are going to talk about all these matters. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Zamir Hassam, who is a senior journalist, regular in this show, a dear friend as well. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. And while we were talking about seniority, we have a young person, a young Turk, Azeen Hafiz, is a legal expert, but she is quite young and very polished as well. Thank you very much for being part of the program. We are joined by Rana Hassan Afzal Khan, who is leader of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. I can see him, right? So he joins us on Skype. Thank you very much, Rana Sahab, for being part of the program. There was a cancellation on the last minute. The representative of PTI, the ruling party, had to cancel. I'm not going to take names, but there must be some complication in life. We are going to have somebody from the party later in the program on telephone. So let us begin. Zamir sir, NAB Ordinance, Second Amendment Ordinance, your take.
Well, the things you have just read, it's like, especially the second para you have read.
It hasn't stopped yet.
Yeah, I know, but
it went on for
where they talk about the decisions or projects or any work done by the government side, and if there is no, if one has not found anything wrong in that should not be questioned by NAB. So this is what I gather. Like,
is it not about streamlining? That NAB should not be actually taking care of the your Chacha's whole budget.
I understand that, Pitafi, but my take on this would be that, we find after so many years that there was one project conceived by the any department of the government, be it ECNEC, be it CDWP or any other. And after 10 years, we come to know that this much amount was allocated for this very particular project, and this amount was actually spent, and this is missing.
Okay.
This has gone in someone's pocket, and the NAB would not be allowed to investigate into that.
Hang on. So, is there an FBR in the country?
FBR is there.
Is there a State Bank of Pakistan in the
Yes,
country?
it's there.
Is there an FIA?
FIA,
Provincial Investigations, SECP, right?
Exactly.
So,
I understand that, but
should NAB be taking care of everything on the face of the planet?
Of course not. I'm not saying that NAB should be taking care of everything.
I'm fascinated that of all the points you're taking issue with this one, because I thought that you were going to talk about the extension of the chairman NAB.
Extension would, if the extension would have been issued, that then it's only possible in extreme emergency measures.
Okay.
So, but all the rest of the amendments which have been brought were not required. But I remember, if you recall, a very important meeting of all the business tycoons with someone, and in which they said, like, we don't want NAB coming after us. All our cases, be it with the tax issues, banking issues, and whatnot, should be remanded to all other agencies, but they should be taken out of NAB's custody.
Right.
So this is what we have done today.
Okay. You are not happy.
I should be happy.
Should be,
I should be happy,
could be,
because I'm not a businessman. I've got nothing to lose in that. But my point is that
you work for a company who has an owner who will be happy.
Yeah, I don't know about him, but the thing is that NAB NAB today stands toothless. NAB today stands without any powers.
Okay, you'll have to decide somewhere in the point.
Opposition
somewhere in the program, you'll have to decide whether NAB is toothless or whether it has too much powers. Because in the last program, one of the last programs, you kept on saying that it is victimizing people. But I'm going to come back to you. Allow me to bring in Azeen Hafiz. Your take, and you can of course give a reply to whatever he was saying as well.
So. I would say, in my opinion, the changes made are mandatory. Right. People in general, holistically, were losing confidence in NAB. I believe the general perception was that NAB is intervening literally everywhere. Things that were its jurisdiction, things that were not its jurisdiction. Like an FVML case, it had only to do with SECP laws. It was highly irrational for NAB to come into that, step into for that matter, and eventually the matter had to be taken to court to have NAB step out of it. Now, I believe, because again, as you said, we have FBR, we have FBI, we have other agencies to look into matters. It's important because a lot of people were denying taking actions, were denying taking any steps further, which prevented the wheel from moving altogether.
Right.
Because people were reluctant that they will be charged with some NAB allegation, something, for whatever, even minor decisions that they take, which again prevents the entire cycle from moving.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but here's a question. When it was first conceived, we were told that the NAB is going to decide a matter within months, right? There was a time frame. For years and years, and it has been, I don't know how old are you, I think that this might be your age fellow, this ordinance, right? It started in 1999. But since that...
Compliment.
Yeah, she looks at it. So, reminded me of my own kid, by the way.
She must be.
Okay, but regarding the overall timeline, throughout these 20 years, or 22 years, we haven't seen cases progressing that quickly. So the question is, all these changes you bring to the law is not going to affect the procedures. They are going to be as slow as possible.
See, now there's always going to be a difference between the draft that we produce and the practical implications that we have. Okay. So obviously we have to, but then in order to bring in implications. The initial step is the draft itself. So we cannot undermine the importance of this just because we have some lapse at the procedural level in terms of pressing upon it.
Right.
So that being there, now this, with reference to your question again, now this amendment also further suggests that NAB accountability courts can grant bails.
Yeah.
That itself fastens the process,
Yeah.
because initially High Court is dealing
I'm
all
so
the
glad
bails.
that after 22 years, we have given these courts this power.
Absolutely.
22 years. And that we had to do through an ordinance, not a law. Allow me to bring in the third guest who is very patiently waiting for his turn. Rana Sahab, you want to chime in, sir? I understand that you are, as usual, going to start with criticizing the government, but can you also focus on the law?
I should be happy today.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to focus on this law as well?
Of course, I think our party has rejected this ordinance, and we feel that it is based on malafide for the following reasons. Number one, as you mentioned, the appointment of judges being transferred to the executive is a highly questionable, change or amendment in this ordinance. We feel that the independence of judiciary is key for any, institute such as NAB, where you have to, make accountable the opposition and the government both. And when you give that authority to the executive, I think independence of judiciary is questioned. And secondly, we feel that this ordinance has been brought for a specific person, that is the chairman, to continue. And that alone, where the constitution or the law said that consultation had to happen, that did not take place, and it should have, started months back. And they skipped that on purpose. And for this man alone, this ordinance has come so he can continue, which shows the factor, the neutrality factor, which had to be there, has vanished, and the NAB-Niazi linkage, which we used to talk about, is evident now. So thirdly, I think when we brought those 34, not we but the opposition talked about those 34 recommendations about NAB, we were blamed in your program, I guess, dozens of times that we're not going to give the opposition an NRO. We're not going to give them an NRO. It's not over our dead bodies. And today we feel that that NRO has been given by the government to itself. How so? The Pandora leaks recently, out of NAB's mandate now. We feel the decisions of the cabinet, which led to the sugar scandal, the wheat scandal, the medicine scandal, the LNG procurement scandal. So many things out of NAB's mandate. And we feel that
I get what you're saying. And remember, this time, this once, I didn't stop you once. But now I have to ask you to actually focus on one thing. These laws are being made through ordinance. And one of the reasons that parties that have been saying in the past that a voter and their say should be of prime importance, and therefore the parliament has to be effective, they keep on stopping the government from the agenda. Is there a possibility that this ordinance, when it comes to the parliament, you are going to at least cooperate insofar as to actually debate it rather than rejecting it as your leadership seems to have done, and work with the government to improve it and then make it a law?
First of all, it should not have been brought by an ordinance. It should have, been initiated in the assembly, and that is the way it has to be. Now, obviously, it's going to get discussed in the assembly now, and there is no other way about it. Or, we have, the legal way to challenge it in the courts. But there is going to be a debate, be it on media, be it in the parliament. We have been up for it. But the factor is that we brought those 34 recommendations. And what happened? Instead of, taking that conversation along, moving it.
Yeah, but you brought those points somewhere else, not in the parliament. My concern is, Parliament of Pakistan should be empowered, and you should be actually enhancing the role of a body that actually builds your party up as well. Every party that participates in an election. Allow me to come back to the studio. Zamir Haider Saab, you have listened to the other participants.
These 34, 35 points which the opposition brought, they were actually brought in the parliament, and that is when
there was a meeting.
But they discussed these. I still remember that someone from the opposition showed these 35 points. That why aren't you even
later. First, there was a presentation by Naik Sahab
in a committee.
Not committee.
Yes, it was discussed.
It was
and
not a
prepared
parliamentary committee
within the opposition.
No, it was not a parliamentary.
Okay, it was not a parliamentary committee, but it was actually forwarded to the government. That is why the government said that no, this is asking for NRO, and we are not going to accept these 34, 35 points.
Yeah.
And this is what opposition is talking about. Most of them are saying that by and large, some of the points are the same which they were suggesting earlier.
Okay.
So I think to that extent, probably opposition would be agreeing with the government
But
on
it
this
is not.
ordinance. They would. I think whenever they would bring it to the parliament, then when they would threadbare discuss
Today,
it.
the leaders of opposition, particularly PMLN, said that we think that it is based on bad judgment and intentions, so we reject it in total. That becomes a problem.
Yeah, but that has always been. But when it comes to the parliament, they discuss on it as well. They reject it first and then they talk about it. Of course, we have seen that in not only this, in so many ordinances and
next
laws.
time you want to appear in any exam, I will like to be the examiner. I'll fail you first and then take the exam.
Well, of course, but this is something which has been very normal. I've been covering parliament for almost now more than 25 years now, and I know that they would outrightly reject it, and when it will be tabled, and they would then talk about it, then they would discuss about it, and this is what we have witnessed and seen in parliament.
Now, how does this affect the tenure of the sitting chairman? Now, because opposition keeps on disagreeing with whatever is going on, and there's going to be a consultative process. If that doesn't actually come through, in the end, the same chairman will be sitting there.
Yeah, this is what the ordinance says, and now it says that the president would be discussing it with the leader of the house and leader of the opposition. And the meaningful discussion between these two persons is no more there now.
It incentivizes the need for cooperation.
For whom? For the opposition?
Opposition. If you are tired of this chairman, you can work with the government to find another one.
Yeah, but now the process has all totally changed. The president would be discussing it with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition.
Is he sitting in...
The meaningful discussion between these two persons is no more there now, which was the basis.
He is head of the state. So if he talks to both of them, is it bad?
No, I don't.
So what?
But the point is that why to have this chairman continue? Why couldn't they have it earlier? They could have a meaningful discussion, both the prime minister and the leader of the opposition, as it was done in the past.
See, to bring you to the talking point that I was sure you are going to talk about, it took me goading and questioning of at least 2 sessions.
I don't know, but what do you want from me?
No, I just wanted to hear what you think about this matter. Let me go back to Azeen Sahiba. You think that this whole idea of allowing a chairman NAB who's sitting or who's outgoing to be in consideration for another term is a good idea?
So, opposition's distaste for the amendment coming from an ordinance is one thing. Now, the other question is, what has the ordinance proposed?
Yeah.
Had they eliminated opposition completely, there we would have a problem then.
Yeah.
However, we do have the opposition leader as part of the decision making, which is why personally, I don't see how is that, because even in the case that fails, there is a safety net.
Let me bring you back to my question. Please. In the past, the term was not extendable. Now you have actually allowed this to be extendable, right? Out of the pool of the people who are in consideration, now you have actually included the incumbent, which never used to happen, right? So the question is it an important move? If it is, why so? Because in the end, Pakistan has 200 million people, and it must have very qualified people, right from very young ones like you to the very top, perhaps somebody at the age of 95 as well. Tell me why it was important.
So, again, this will still bring me to my initial point. Had it been only government's decision, the one in power, then we would have a problem.
Yeah.
But because this is coming from the discussion between the opposition and the sitting government, so this is why, even if in case of repetition, what we do not fear right now is that so now the decision will not be based on biasness. What it is based on is probably who is better fit for it.
How do you bring in the element of bias? Because in the past, the format was that the leader of the opposition and leader of the house will actually agree on a list, and then you get the chairman, right? Now, if the president is going to do it, but the only caveat is you have included the incumbent's name, and it is going to be a strategy in coming days as well. Maybe if we can have the same chairman NAB for 20 years, right? As long as he is of sound mind and judgment and all that. The question is why? Why was there a need? As a lawyer, do you agree with this idea or you don't?
As a lawyer, I do not. I believe that there should be a time period suggesting
4 years?
4 years should be
Or 2
sufficient.
terms?
Or 5 years, I think max should be. 2 terms is extension, and that should only be allowed in very limited circumstances. That again should be open to discussion.
Right. Now that, let me remind my producer now that more or less all my guests are agreeing on the term limit of the chairman NAB. We probably are going to need somebody from the government to actually, flog their case as well, to present it as well. Allow me to actually go to the third guest once again. Rana
I
Sahab.
just wanted to add one thing, that the procedure for giving extension would also be the same. The same consultation done by the president with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition.
Yeah, so what are you saying?
No, I'm saying that, like, this is procedure of appointing a new chairman and giving an extension, the procedure remains the same. No, my point was, like,
the third question,
the opposition,
are you telling me you are going to agree with the decision?
The opposition is still part of the, of giving an extension. Opposition is also part of that process.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
I know, but I was talking about whether you agree with the idea that everybody should be considered, or that a person who has actually headed a department should quit and somebody else should come.
Yes, I do agree. Like, they are very good brains we have, like, in a lot of, there's, I don't
I have
see
to go to the third one. Yeah, very quickly.
So
please.
apart from this being a choice for opposition and the sitting government, obviously it has to be in the interest of general public as well. And for that reason, definitely we should renew and the tenure should end, and we should have a defined period for that.
Okay, right. So let me go back to Rana Sahab. Rana Sahab, what is your party's beef against the current chairman?
We have absolutely no beef against this chairman. Number one, he was selected via the consultation process written in the NAB Ordinance law. So, when he came, I'll tell you what some of the judges said about him. For example, Justice Bakir, in his 84-page report, he talks about NAB being used as a tool for political victimization. He talks about political engineering. He talks about human rights violation. Then, there are cases where the justice is, he cannot ascertain why even NAB took these cases. And again, the will of the NAB or their intentions are questioned, that how this has come about. So these are, various judgments given on bail. So based on those judgments, there are huge question marks.
But Rana Sahab, sorry to cut you. Is it not true that I'm talking to a politician, and whenever there are judgments or opinions by honorable courts or judges, you are going to pick and choose whatever goes in your favor. There might be other judges who might have said something critical of your party and not NAB, but you are not going to actually quote that. The question at this moment is that everything that you are complaining about might have to do with the systemic problems within the organization. And here is a law that might seek to actually fix them. And you are actually, rejecting the whole idea in totality.
No. When the discussion comes, we might not reject this in totality. But, the fact that this ordinance was brought, the intentions behind are it malified. Because, whatever reason you might discuss, there are judges who are excellent performance, there are police officers, there are secretaries in the government. None of them are given extensions. There's no law to extend their tenure. So this specific change
Really,
was brought just
Sahib,
for Javed Iqbal.
do you honestly want to talk to me about extensions, sir?
Of course, I don't mind talking about it. There's nothing, we are the problem. We were probably the.
No. I mean,
No.
look,
Let me
how
tell you
many
how.
extensions to how many people you have given?
Okay, there's a very good answer for that. We have
No,
not
there
given
isn't.
extension to any chief of army staff in our government. Not
No,
even
I'm
one.
not
Not a
talking
single
merely
one.
about Chief of Army Staff. Again, he also automatically goes there and you are going to go there as well.
No, I didn't go
You
there.
have given extension to umpteen people, sir. I mean, come on.
Well,
Your party
well-
is one of the longest serving party in the country.
Okay, let me tell you. You see, NAB, the first thing for NAB, it has to be neutral. It has to
Right.
give a perception of being neutral. It has to be perceived to be neutral. And with such, person-specific ordinance being brought, that perception of
With your votes, sir,
And
with your votes, but first, let me, Rana Sahab, stop you there because we are joined now by PTI's MNA also. Dr. Ramesh Kumar actually joins us at this moment. Let me ask Dr. Saab. Dr. Saab, you your party ended up, your government ended up actually taking, these decisions regarding NAB changes through an ordinance. Are you kind of giving up on parliamentary procedures? Because in the end you'll have to go there, but at this moment it seems that you don't trust the opposition enough to think that it will pass very soon. Why an ordinance?
Pitafi, thank you very much for taking my views on this important show. First of all, this government is very bold and blunt. I think every democratic government wants that every decision should be through the parliament. But when the practice of the parliament, when the role of the opposition and other parliamentarians are not serious, and the issues going day by day worse regarding the NAB, and it is the very genuine demand by the opposition even. Every time opposition claim that NAB is using is mispower and the opposition is the target.
Right.
When the government has taken the decision by the federal and provincial cabinet or autonomous bodies and of the banks and everything, then why the NAB is going in this? If there is any financial crunch, then they can use. I think the ordinance is the demand of the opposition, and the right time is that our government has taken the decision. If you go in the past, if you have also the other parliamentarian, when I was in the PMLN, the People's Party said there should be amendment in the NAB law in 62, 63. Then the PMLN says that no, this is the bad time for the PPP, that's why we will not do. And then when the PMLN said that when the Minas was in the crisis, at that time the People's Party says that no, why now you are in the crisis, why we are go. So I think the good thing should be do at any time. Not you see that this is not good. This is it is. I think.
But Dr.
right
Saab,
time is
my question was that politics is the art of the possible. Why is it that you are not working to win over the opposition to your point of view? There seems we have an expert in the program on legal matters, and she was agreeing with the core points of this ordinance, that it is going to improve the law. So why not actually sell this idea to the opposition?
I understand. Now thing is that the ordinance is not the final law. It is only the cover up of the only 4 months. So that ordinance, the law formed by the government will come in the parliament within 4 months. So now it is the time. We can discuss the NAB law, we can discuss the electoral reform law, everything we can discuss in the parliament. But for these things, we need open-minded people, with genuine people who serve very well. Not
Right.
that this is not time good, this is time bad. This thing is going our country back.
Right. Dr. Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. I'm told that we have to take a break. When we come back, we are going to bring in the Balochistan situation as well. Now, I thanked the Dr. Saab earlier, and I'm going to thank him again for his participation. Let us take a break. Then when we come back, we are going to focus on what is going on in Balochistan's political circles. Take a break. Welcome back. Before going to the break, I told you that we are going to talk a little bit about Balochistan as well. We are joined by Syed, who is a senior journalist joining us from Quetta. Syed, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Now, let me ask you, I recall the days when BAP, or Balochistan Awami Party, was made and how this current government actually came into power. There was infighting within the ruling party at that time. The question is, what is happening now and what it is going to do to the future politics in Balochistan? Please go ahead, sir.
Farrukh, thank you for having me in your show. First of all, the tussle between BAP President Jam Kamal and Mir Abdul Quddus Bizenjo was not new or not emerged in few days. It's going on from the day of the formation of BAP, and it was continue in last 3 years. In the recent time, Sardar Saleh Bhutani joined Quddus Bizenjo, and slowly and gradually
Right. Okay. There seems to be some snag in connectivity. The moment we restore the connection, I'm going to go back to Rinsab. Till the time that happens, Zamir, you want to come in and comment on Balochistan?
Yeah, I was just remembering one comment by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, and he once said that, like, if not Punjab, we are definitely going to bring change in Balochistan.
Right.
I don't know how significant is going to be. Is it going to be in this scenario? But I think we're gonna have Quddus Bizenjo Sahab as next
CM?
chief CM.
How? Why?
I don't know, but things are working on it. I've been talking to certain people in
if there's
Balochistan
one
government.
party, if there's polarization within one party, it means that they are going to split. If they split, they divide their numbers almost into half. Right? So that is a problem.
They'll get support from the other opposition parties, and that's why I started from Bilawal Bhutto Zardari.
Right, and his father usually starts from Balochistan.
Balochistan.
Yeah, but let me go back to Shahrukh Sahab. Please continue. You were telling us that this animus was there from the day one. So what happens now?
Opposition's vote of no confidence was rejected on the technical grounds. Now opposition asked the disgruntled members to submit a vote of no confidence or tell your chief minister to take a vote of confidence from the assembly. What is going on right now? Tomorrow BAP disgruntled members called another meeting and they will take the final decision. But the issue is, if BAP disgruntled 11 members along with other, it become a 15, they want to out from Jam Kamal from the CM-ship or chief ministership, then they need the support of PDM, which is not acceptable to the federal government and the PTI. Without PDM support, disgruntled members are not in a position to throw out Jam Kamal from his chief executiveship. This is the tricky situation. If they want to change Jam Kamal, disgruntled 15 members, then they need first option -1 formula in a current coalition. Otherwise, they need PDM. If they need PDM, then I think it's not acceptable to PTI for their federal government and the Punjab government. If with the support of PDM, Quddus Bizenjo and his team throw out Chief Minister Jam Kamal from the CM-ship, then it will affect the Punjab government, KP government, and also a federal government. And as you earlier said, the system will start from Balochistan.
Right. When you were talking about PDM, I was wondering which particular parties are you talking about, because it has many parties, right? On one side we have JUIF and then PMLN. People's Party is no more part of this coalition. So, yeah, please go ahead.
PDM right now, after People's Party and ANP, on basically on 5 big parties, or I think 4. One is PMLN, one is Jamiat Ulama Islam, one is BNP Mengal, and one is Mahmood Khan Achakzai's PK MAP, and 5th is National Party. National Party, although is not in a provincial assembly in Balochistan right now, but all other 3 parties, Jamiat Ulama Islam, FE, BNP Mengal, and PK MAP of Mahmood Khan Achakzai, they all 3 are in PDM and they are in opposition in Balochistan. And one interesting thing, for these PDM parties, Jam Kamal is an establishment boy. Jam Kamal's party BAP is a production of establishment. But very interestingly, the same party BAP's Quddus Bizenjo is not from for the same line as they adopt for Jam Kamal and the BAP. They like Quddus Bizenjo but not like Jam Kamal. That is interesting.
Right. So there is going to be some kind of change if things don't get better. Is it correct?
For saying the change, it's very tricky. I think if change comes in Balochistan, then it will not stop here in Balochistan. It will go Lahore and then GT Road to Islamabad.
Okay, right. Shahrukh Sahab, I'm told that we have to actually start winding up the program. Thank you very much for your valuable input. Thank you very much for your time. Let me very quickly come back to the guest in the studio and the other guest if he is on Skype. Let me, with your permission, go to Rana Sahab. Rana Sahab has left. Okay. Okay, Zamir, do you want to tie it up? Do you want to add to the...
I heard Jam Kamal has himself said that if he would lose support of his members, and he would quit himself. And that is why I think that he's sensing some... our chairman Senate was there and he tried his best, but it didn't help Jam Kamal that much. And the reason being is that the people, or the conspiracy theory says that Sadiq Sanjrani was not a good option for the Prime Minister who sent to save Jam Kamal. I don't want to say further anything more.
Right, you can say whatever you like. But regarding Jam Kamal, I have some personal experience with the man, and I have always thought that Balochistan is lucky to have such a CM. Usually a person who is actually encircled, nobody wants to take their side. But I would like to take that side.
He was one good thing that happened to Balochistan.
Yeah, one of the many. I'm also one of them. Okay. You want to add anything to Azim? Are you following Balochistan's politics?
Yes, as like a general thing we are, yes, definitely. I would mostly agree with what you said, standing by someone like Jam Kamal and being supportive to someone who's taken that stand. I think that's important.
Right. Yes. That actually brings us to this positive point actually brings us to the end of the program. Azeen, Hafiz, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Zamir Hadar, thank you. How many times do I have to thank you? You told me during the break.
My player.
Okay, right. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Rana Ehsan Afzal left us during the program. He had to go somewhere, but let me thank him through the screen as well. These are developments regarding NAB law or ordinance. We have talked, we have covered a lot of ground, and I think that it is going to be there and people are going to support it. Regarding Balochistan, we still have to wait and see what becomes of the political situation. Recently, there was even violence around the parliament, so these things are troubling. Let us hope that everything remains civil. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.